Oh yeah, this list is going to make people mad. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Tom Grossi is the number one wide receiver. Grossi. Did you say Tom Grossi? Grossi into the intro? Never mind. And today we are going to be ranking the top 10 wide receivers heading into the 2023 NFL season. And I actually have 3 honorable mentions before we even jump into this list. And ranking wide receivers is always difficult. There's kind of a consensus on like who the top like 3 to 4 are. And then there's some that can like move around a little bit. But there's always guys who are going to be left off this list that are just incredibly talented individuals. Like, for example, we have newcomers like Jalen Waddle. As you know, as I explained in the running back video, and as I've been doing these for years, I don't like to put guys who only have like 1 or 2 seasons on this list unless they're really, really special. And I think Jalen Waddle could be that guy. I want to see 1 more year, but the fact that he's able to put up amazing numbers, not only in his rookie year, but also continue to put up great numbers with a guy like Tyreek Hill, who of course is on this list, on his team, that's really, really impressive. So Jalen Waddle, wouldn't be surprised if he finds his way on this list. You have guys like Deebo Samuel, who kind of didn't do as well last year, but Deebo Samuel, great dual threat running back / wide receiver. And then the guy who I felt the worst leaving off, because he is just one of the most impressive wide receivers in the past bit, and that is Mike Evans. Mike Evans has put up over 1,000 yards receiving every single year that he has been in the league, which, come on, man, that's 2014. He's been doing this for nearly 10 years. So I gotta shout out Mike Evans. You just missed the top 10 this year. I've put him in every single top 10 that I've had since I've done this, but he's missed out this year, and I replaced him with somebody, and it might get a little controversial, but here we go. Number 10, I got DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf, he's young, he's big, he's fast. He actually knows how to run routes, unlike many people thought of him coming out of college, including myself. And he is just a damn freaking scary dude. DK Metcalf, another 1,000-yard season this past year, only 6 touchdowns. But again, you have to remember, Geno Smith is throwing him the ball. And I know Geno did well, and I like Geno Smith. He did well. But Geno ain't no top 10 quarterback. So DK Metcalf was performing with Russ, and he's also doing great under Geno Smith. I think he's going to be a major focal point of their offense this year. He's been thriving in camp. And again, this is also splitting receptions with guys like Tyler Lockett, and now they just brought in JSN. And JSN is going to be missing a few weeks because of injury. It's going to allow DK Metcalf to continue his dominance, and I think that he's just such an athlete. He's deserving of the top 10. He has the numbers behind him. And so he's number 10. Number 9, I got CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys. The question was about CeeDee Lamb. Can he be the guy? Amari Cooper traded for basically nothing to the Cleveland Browns. Michael Gallup was out. Could he be? Oh, yes, he was. Last season, had a 30% target rate, was a monster for the Dallas Cowboys. He had 107 receptions, over 1,300 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And listen, Dak Prescott gets a lot of flack, but we also have to acknowledge that if Dak Prescott is like near the bottom of the top 10 QBs, then what CeeDee Lamb is doing is even more impressive. You knew last year that he was going to get the ball, and it didn't matter. CeeDee Lamb, I think, has proven enough that he is one of the best wide receivers in the league, definitely warranting of a top 10, and I think you can even make an argument that he could go as high as maybe even number 6. But right now, I have him at number 9. Let's see what he does this season. Number 8, this guy's almost always going to be on my list. It's Terry McLaurin, otherwise known as Scary Terry. And here's why Scary Terry is always going to be on this list. He got a well-deserved extension, which is all well and good. But this guy is just constantly putting up numbers, and you have to look at the quality of the quarterbacks throwing him the ball. Because it's not great. Because he's had over 1,000 yards every single season except for 2019 where he had 919 yards. Last year he had career highs in yardage. And I'm just impressed with him. He makes insane catches. He beats really good corners. Hell, he beat Jair Alexander on a one-on-one to get a touchdown last year when he played the Packers. Scary Terry is the real deal, and a guy that when the Packers were missing some wide receivers, I was vying and praying that Scary Terry would make his way over to Green Bay. Now, again, they're heading into this season. Sam Howell, you have Jacoby Brissett, not the greatest or most well-known QBs. There's some definite question marks with Sam Howell. Can Scary Terry continue to do well? I think the answer is a resounding yes, because he's already proven it. And for that means that he's on the top 10 for me. Number 7, you got Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp, after having one of the best seasons ever for a wide receiver in 2021, unfortunately suffered an injury last year, so didn't put up those monster numbers. But Matthew Stafford, he got hurt. Their offensive line was in shambles. That offense as a whole just really wasn't great for the Rams. Hopefully with a healthy Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp returning from injury, they can kind of get back on the same page, because Cooper Kupp is a monster. He's been putting up numbers way before his amazing season in 2021. And I have to imagine he's going to be a major focal point of that offense if he's healthy. The guys can stretch the field, he runs amazing routes, and he's got great hands. So watch out for Cooper Kupp, because even though he was hurt last year, he still had 812 yards and 6 touchdowns. A healthy Cooper Kupp, you've seen what he can do already. Number 6, you got Jamar Chase. Ooh, Jamar Chase. Only 2 years in the league, and yeah, he's flying up the lists real quick. Chase, no, he did not replicate his amazing rookie year, but in the past 2 seasons total, he's had 22 touchdowns. He's averaging 14.9 yards per reception, which is really impressive. And it's more impressive that they got guys like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, who are also great threats on that offense, who are getting a bunch of receptions. And yet, Jamar Chase is able to do incredible things. He is an insane athlete. He makes insane catches, and he is Joe Burrow's guy. That connection that they have in Cincinnati, the Bengals are going to be looking to keep that together for a very long time. It's easy to see why, and I imagine Jamar Chase is going to terrorize the league once again this season. Number 5, we're getting into the rarefied air, as Richard Blade would say. That's a deep cut. Number 5, I got A.J., not Styles, Brown. A.J. Brown. 17 yards per reception in 2022, of course, got traded from the Titans to the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was a major reason as to why they got to the Super Bowl. Nearly 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, and that was his first year with this offense, and oh yeah, they run the ball a ton. He's only had 1 year that he hasn't gotten 1,000 yards, and that was in 2021, where he was injured and only played 13 games. A.J. Brown is a menace. He's built like a house. He makes incredible catches. The guy can run just about any single route, and he is a scary option for Jalen Hurts. And again, they already have good wide receivers on that team, like Devonte Smith. And so A.J. Brown, to me, I think his production warrants being a top 5 wide receiver in this league. He had one of his best years last year, and I imagine he's only going to continue that run this season. Number 4, you got Stefan Diggs of the Buffalo Bills. Since 2018, he's had over 1,000 yards in every single one of his campaigns. He had his second best season in terms of yards last year with over 1,400, and he had 11 receiving touchdowns last year, which is a career high for him. Yeah, that connection with Josh Allen and Stefan Diggs is incredible. I usually criticize the Bills because they put a lot on Josh Allen to go out and win the game and don't, run the ball a lot. However, Josh Allen is able to get out of a lot of those situations and excel because of Stefan Diggs. Because it really is, screw it, Stefan Diggs is open down there somewhere. Stefan Diggs has proven year in and year out, whether it was on the Vikings and especially when he came to the Bills, that he is an amazing wide receiver. He's top 5. I think you can maybe even argue he could be floating around top 3, but the only reason he's not is because how insane the athletes are above him. But Stefan Diggs, one of the best to do it, one of the best in the league currently, and it's easy to see why. Number 3, you got Tyreek Hill Again, you can make an argument that he's number 2, or you can even make an argument maybe that he's number 1. Tyreek Hill was one of the best wide receivers with Patrick Mahomes. He was one of the best wide receivers with Tua, or whoever was throwing the ball to him last year with the Dolphins. He had over 1,700 yards and 119 receptions last year. He had 7 touchdowns. He's one of the fastest wide receivers, if not the fastest, in the entire league, and he is a true game changer. Years ago, we would talk about Mike Wallace and how he was able to stretch the field. Tyreek Hill is able to do that and also make incredible catches. You'll constantly see him double covered, which then is going to leave guys like Jalen Waddle open. Tyreek Hill is a main cog on that offense, and if the Dolphins are going to do well, of course it depends on if Tua is going to be healthy or not, but Tyreek Hill has shown that he can perform and produce regardless of who is at quarterback, and I imagine he's going to do the same again. Number 2, oh boy, here's the thing. Number 1 I thought was easy, but then I actually dove into the stats. I took a look at some tape, even though I've seen a lot of these guys, and I'm just going to be that guy. Number 2, I got Justin Jefferson. Now, I know. Now, if we're talking fantasy, Justin Jefferson all day. If we're talking about the next 5 years, Justin Jefferson all day. If we're talking about right now, Justin Jefferson, you can make the very strong argument he's the best wide receiver in the league. I still think he is second to the first guy. In 2022, had 128 receptions, over 1,800 yards, which is insane. 8 touchdowns, over 14 yards per reception, and he is absolutely phenomenal. I know, because he usually torches us every single season. And on top of that, you see insane catches like he makes against Buffalo. The guy can do it all, and I truly think within the next 3 years, we're going to be talking about Justin Jefferson as like, oh man, like is he a top 5 wide receiver of all time? But as of right now, just the sample size that it's available and some of the production, I think there's one guy that does it a bit better. And so, yes, Justin Jefferson, you're probably going to bring me to tears again, but you're sticking at number 2. And number 1, I got top 2, but not 2, Devonte Adams. And let me explain. And you can't even say it's bias anymore because he's on the freaking frackin' Raiders. Devonte Adams has had an amazing career with a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. And when he got traded to the Raiders to go play with Carr, a lot of people wondered, oh, is that production gonna dip down? And it did not. Last year, he had 100 receptions. He averaged 15.2 yards per reception. That's a full yard over Justin Jefferson. He had 14 touchdowns last year, which beats Justin Jefferson. On top of that, he has shown that he could do it with any number of quarterbacks and still be productive. Brett Hundley was out there. Devonte Adams was still making plays. He is the best route runner in the NFL, bar none, without question. He has some of the greatest hands in the NFL. And again, he can produce regardless of who is throwing him the ball. So Devonte Adams really did not dip down in production at all last year. He still was absolutely phenomenal. And I think until he lets it go, he is still the best wide receiver in the league. But be careful, because Justin Jefferson is right behind you, and Jimmy Garoppolo is throwing you the ball this year until Aiden O'Connell eventually replaces him. And so just to recap, at number 1, you got Devonte Adams. 2, you got Justin Jefferson. 3, Tyreek Hill. 4, Stefan Diggs. 5, A.J. Brown. 6, Jamar Chase. 7, Cooper Kupp. 8, you got Scary Terry. 9, you got CeeDee Lamb. And number 10, DK Metcalf. But of course, let me know what you think down in the comments below. You know, find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and of course, YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.